Question is, where do young people go in the dark hours of a London night? Well, a rather bewildered Bill Wigmore has been seeking one answer by venturing into a place called the Batcave, just off Carnaby Street, where things happen on Wednesdays. Very curious.
To the Batcave.
Hey guys, Barnabats here. So this video is something that one of the first things I actually wanted to do on YouTube when I started. It's something that people to this day still don't know too much about, and that's Gothic subculture. People still often confuse it with emo, thinking it's the same thing. Even though emo came from goth, they're actually very different still. So, if you're someone who's been curious about what goth even actually is, or if you just seen trends of it on TikTok, seeing a lot of people dress up in this weird way with the spiky collars and all black, and you just wanted a deeper look into it, this is the video for you. So, what does the word goth even mean? Goth, a word that comes from a group of people in very early centuries who invaded parts of the Roman Empire. Did they dress in all black and wear various amounts of dark-themed makeup and eyeliner? No. This doesn't really have too much to do with what we think of when we hear goth at all. The term is also used by historians and others after the fact as a synonym for barbaric or barbarian, overall not sounding very flattering when referring to these people. This is going to be a repeating theme in the video. Knowing this, it makes sense why goth subculture in our time was given the name as a callback, being a counterculture and being something a lot of people, especially parents of teenagers, were afraid of and simply could not understand. Gothic architecture was all over the Middle Ages, 16th century and 18th century. Gothic revival period was in the 18th century. What defines the architecture? Does it tie into the fashion? Well, yes and no. Only because when you think of Gothic architecture, you think of stained glass, moderately to heavily decorated motifs on building details and pointy parts. And they look creepy. So Gothic people want to look like the buildings. That's not quite it either. In all actuality, I really don't think this has way too much to do with where the fashion actually comes from. I'm just kind of going over this part just to give the word itself just some type of background and origin. But I also wanted to move on so the video itself isn't 8 hours long. Gothic literature. I think these are really important to the Gothic subculture as well, just because of the dark themes that often inspire Gothic people to present themselves the way they do. Dracula, Frankenstein, and last but definitely not least, anything from Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, Gothic music. And now I think this is arguably the most important part of the subculture. During the 80s and 70s, goth culture actually started from punk, which came to be in a time of hopelessness. And some of the music reflected this notion. But where punk can be a little bit more hopeless and nihilistic, goth is more clear and matter-of-fact, I would say. Seeing the world for what it is. Lyrics from a lot of the music can be pretty dark, going along with haunting vocals and heavy bass, but I still think it's not necessarily depressing. It's just appreciating the darker side that life has to offer, which is another sentiment of what goth really is at its core. Gothic subculture starting out in the UK and slowly spreading throughout the world, then to the US. A huge spot for it was in a nightclub called the Batcave. No, not that Batcave. And the Batcave was a club in London that was like a goth safe haven in the 70s and 80s. Every type of goth was welcome there with open arms. They played all sorts of popular music from that time, and even the club owner's personal band called Specimen. So what did these goths look like that went to the Batcave on the regular? The goth scene back then, and still now, was really big on self-expression. Anything and everything that can add to this is most likely a yes. So with people feeling super safe at this nightclub and being free to express themselves, DIY was a huge part as well, to further personalize your clothing and to further express yourself. DIY fashion was huge at the Batcave and in the early goth movement in general.
I mean, it's the people that make the atmosphere. You know, it's not suck your cheeks in and pose in the corner. It's very friendly, and it's basically about fun, and it's about having your tongue firmly in your cheek, you know, and being able to laugh at the realities of the day-to-day existence. Style is always important because it helps people identify. A lot of guys wear makeup. I haven't seen anybody who wears makeup exactly the same as me.
We love dressing up, we love makeup,
you know,
we love
because
clothes.
we've been doing it for so many years, you know, it's just hard to go out looking like death warmed up, you know.
I could not go to a club with no, well, that's what it's all about, makeup, dressing up, hair, isn't it, clubs? The Batcave certainly is.
Well, this is a pair of tights. This is another pair of tights. This is my Kiss Kiss Bang Bang belt. This is lipsticks instead of silver bullets. This is part of our stage set. This is African stuff, but I don't really want to talk about clothes.
There are so many creative people that let their creativity show through how they presented themselves and through their fashion at this club. Studs, fishnets, chokers, anything that could be used to personalize clothing further just took it to that next level. This is the creative freedom that I really love in fashion, and I show my interests through how I dress, and I just really like to express myself with clothing. I actually had something I made a while ago. It was a plain black hoodie, and it had a screen printed graphic I originally drew of Dracula getting his heart impaled. The paint I used had an almost silver shine to it that kind of complemented the silver spikes I put around the entire hood nicely. I also cropped the hoodie so it kind of had a interesting silhouette to it. And I put metal heavy tips on the drawstrings. I was hoping I could show this off in the video, but I'm just gonna have to use pictures because unfortunately it's gone and probably destroyed somewhere. Now for the negative part. Like, yeah, I'm talking about it from a positive light, but really there's a lot of negatives that go with it through expressing yourself and looking really weird to other people. Most of the time people can really hate what's different from the norm. If you present yourself in any way that could be considered odd or weird to your peers, just prepare yourself. You'll most likely be met with cruelty, ignorance, or isolation being the best case scenario. It's probably a lot different now for younger people, but I imagine if I did express myself to the extent that I wanted to back then, I no doubt would have had some of this backlash in school, for sure. I think people really used to treat goths like this because of the satanic panic thing in the 90s and the 80s. That's honestly still kind of going on now. Like, if you live in a very conservative home, or if your family is pretty conservative and normal, then if you go to family gatherings, they might look at you like you are... Though you don't necessarily need upside down crosses or any type of extreme face piercings for people to feel this way about you. The common misconception is that a lot of goths are devil worshippers, when really there's a lot of, or most people I've met that consider themselves goths are actually Christian, ironically. But being goth is, again, literally just being enamored with the darker parts of life. And that gets confused with worshiping Satan. Could there be Satan worshippers that are goths? Obviously. That's like, there could be goths in any religion.
If it's like the collar or something like that, they'll know it's that, but they'll check jackets
They
and
make
stuff.
you pull out your pockets if they feel your keys in there or anything that you have to pull it out, show them what it is.
Right.
People aren't bringing in knives.
And we shouldn't be off-put by your look, as you want us to, I suppose, black lipstick.
No.
You know, this is not what your father dreamed for you at this age.
Yeah, but my parents don't mind. They're very liberal on it. They're not like,
And you are drug-free, and you're
Yes, I
not
am.
stealing anybody's hubcaps
No.
or anything else? You're
No.
not promiscuous?
I have a legitimate job. I work at a club. I work at a record store.
And this is what you enjoy doing?
Yes.
And you can take care of yourself?
Exactly.
Don't you have a little empathy, however, for the Mitchells and also for the parents of these young?
I want to know why it is that all of you seem to have satanic signs all over you, and what is it that makes... Does this music cause you to do what you do?
Is that directed at us or the parents?
That's funny. Twiggy? That's your little
Does the
tape
music
recorder?
cause us
Okay.
to do what we do? We cause the music to do what it does, I think.
Yes.
I think that moshing is a sign of what Christians would call the apocalypse.
Great gnashing of teeth.
it's you know, the culture is just getting more and more destructive, and I think it, you know, this is a sign of the times.
You
And I didn't invent it, you know?
No, you didn't. In fact, you look a little like Alice Cooper.
Now, from that clip, the teens talking were very well-spoken, in my opinion, and very articulate, which is pretty funny. Some of them even just, they come off to me like very nice people. Just by the way they look and how they dress, obviously they're dressing pretty extremely, but still the audience is just demonizing them. It's sad to see that looking different like that could just make people target you. Again, I'm sure this doesn't happen to the extent that it did, you know, back then in the 90s in this video, but still, I guarantee it still happens. Now, there really isn't a specific way that that you can dress to look goth. There's no basic, I mean, there is a basic gothic outfit. You could type in goth on like Depop or something, and, you know, black stuff will show up. Maybe chokers. You know what, honestly, if you type in goth and buy all the stuff that shows up, I think you actually would look goth. But you don't have to dress a certain way to actually be goth. You could actually look like a everyday person. You don't even have to wear black, and you can still consider yourself goth. Like I said, it's just the way you feel and what you resonate with. It's the literature you like, the movies you like, it's interests that you have, it's your outlook on things. There's a lot that goes into it. There's not just one or two things that you can do to be goth. I think that's what a lot of people don't get. It's not just the fashion, it's not just the music, it's not just one thing. I also hear a lot that it's expensive to dress goth. It definitely can be, like if you did what I just said, to, you know, Google goth and go to all the websites that have this special goth clothing. I think that is what's gonna dry out your pockets. Buying from brands that are specifically labeled as goth. When in reality, goth is whatever you want it to be. If you already, you know, if you're goth, then it's definitely most likely going to show through your clothing. It's going to show through how you express yourself. It's going to show through your art. It's going to show and manifest itself in some way. But goth can be very DIY. Chokers, earrings, chains, all with improvised gems, pendants, studs, spikes come to mind for fun gothic DIY projects. I like to go to Michael's and just grab some of the random stones and gems and try to see if I can put those on any type of necklaces. Those are really fun accessories if you're looking to make your own. Jewelry and accessories is a big part of what can make your outfit just look from all black basics to having a little bit of that gothic edge to it. Like if I was just to be wearing, you know, black jeans, a black hoodie, if I'm wearing my rings, which I always do, then it might just give it that extra edge that I'm looking for. I wear a lot of jewelry to express my personal style, but somebody else might wear a lot of intricate makeup if they're good at that. They might do eyeliner or Egyptian kind of styles and motifs on their eyes, and even clown makeup, like something reminiscent of the Crow's design. Black is the easiest thing to wear for a darker look, but it's not necessary to wear all black all the time, every day, to be goth. On the other side of this, if you do this, it doesn't mean you're goth either. If you just wear all black, you could just be that guy who likes minimalistic, simple looks. It doesn't mean you're goth. I personally think it's easy to make a lot of different kinds of jewelry work for different looks. I see a lot of silvery jewelry in goth fashion, though another thing I see is religious symbols, from crosses, pentagrams, and even ankhs. I guess this could mean a lot of different things for the goths that wear each one. I don't think that people who wear these in the goth community necessarily wear them to show that they believe in that, whatever organized religion that they represent on their jewelry. Whether they wear an upside down cross, a cross, an ankh, a lightning bolt, whatever it is. I'm just pointing it out And people are gonna think about what they want about this part, but it is what it is. So if there's anything you do take away from this video, I hope it's that. I hope you found out at least one thing you didn't know about the Gothic subculture. If you're scared at all, or maybe put off by anyone considered goth, maybe now you'll look at that from a different angle. I hope if there is anyone who considers themselves goth watching this, you know, leave a comment. Let me know what you think about the video. If there's anything you agree with, if there's anything you didn't agree with, I'd appreciate it. If you are someone who's goth, or if you're just someone who's getting into it, you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. You could make your own pieces. Thrifting is a big option. You can get black makeup. It doesn't have to be black again, but you can get that literally like anywhere. Sell it pretty cheap. It's just self-expression, and it helps people feel way more comfortable about themselves. Helps them feel more connected to who they are. And I think it is an art form. I definitely do. Self-expression is an art form. If you're new here, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and I'm out.